An ecosystem is a community that includes living organisms and their interaction with the physical elements in an area. The two main components of an ecosystem include living organisms and non-living elements. The living organisms include things like plants, animals, fungi, and microorganisms, while non-living elements include things in the environment like air, water, sunlight, nutrients in the soil, and temperature. Ecosystems are all around us and can be a pond, a forest, the ocean, the desert, the prairies, and some people even consider the earth as one giant ecosystem. Although these are examples of ecosystems, their environments are not the same, and neither are their living organisms. Another important part of an ecosystem is the interaction between the two main components, the environment and living organisms. Let's look at an example. A fox is a living being that interacts with its environment. When it is thirsty, it will drink water, but it can also interact with other living beings. When it is hungry, for example, it will eat rodents. The interaction in an ecosystem can take place in all directions, which we will expand on later in this video. Ecosystems can be small, medium, or large. As long as there is an interaction between living and non-living elements, we have an ecosystem. An example of a small ecosystem would be the environment under a flower pot or a rock. That ecosystem might be made up of living components such as microorganisms, insects, and non-living components such as soil and nutrients like dead leaves and air. A medium-sized ecosystem would be a pond or puddle, whereas an ocean or a forest would be considered a large ecosystem. Ecosystems also contain food chains. For example, in a forest, trees have grown on the ground and change from one season to the next. At a certain point in time, they produce fruit. Here we see acorns from a large oak tree. These acorns are a source of food for a squirrel. The squirrel in turn will be a source of food for other living beings and are part of this chain for many living beings. This is called a food chain. The tree is also part of a food chain. In the fall, it loses its leaves. These decompose on the ground and become nutrients in the soil. The tree can then get these nutrients through its roots. There is also an interaction between the tree and the birds, because some birds will build their nests in trees. It is a relationship that allows the bird to provide for its needs, and all these relationships make up links in a food chain. All living things in an ecosystem are closely connected to each other in order to survive. These connections are extremely important to keep an ecosystem in balance. Imagine if we removed a single link in this chain, such as a tree, or if the temperature would rise considerably. There would be enormous consequences for our ecosystem. What would happen to the birds? What would happen to the squirrels that feed on the acorns? Eagles that hunt small rodents, and so on and so forth. There must always be a balance between each of these components of the ecosystem to keep our planet healthy, happy, and sustainable. Do your part and remember this thought. What if we treat all ecosystems as if they were in danger?